What's up, Internet? I'm Bewildered Bat back, but I'm not back with a Gotham review. I'm back with something totally different. I'm back with a show called The Awesomes. My notebook's talking to me. With a show called The Awesomes, and if you have Hulu, you know what I'm talking about. Well, if you have the Internet, you might know. Look at the camera. I'm gonna look at the camera. You might know what I'm talking about. Awesome. The Awesomes is a Hulu exclusive, and it's a superhero cartoon, but it's not. It's different than other ones. It's kind of comedy. It's something that would be on Adult Swim, but not quite Adult Swim grade, because they say bad words, but they bleep them out. But it's got some other pretty questionable things. Now, the last episode I watched was Day of the Awesomes Part 2, and I'm pretty well into this. This is the second season I'm in, and I didn't this show started in 2013, and I wasn't reviewing stuff because I just started, as you all know. But I just thought it was worth a review because it's a pretty good show, and I think anybody who has Hulu should give it a try. Because I didn't think I was gonna like it, but I love it now. I wish I had a shirt or something to wear, but I don't have any awesome merchandise. My merchandise is awesome because clearly I'm wearing a Walking Dead shirt here. You can see close up, see the zombies. But I don't have merchandise from The Awesomes because this shirt is awesome, in my opinion. All right, but anyway, your core superheroes are Gadget Gal, Hotwire, Proc, Muscle Man, Impresario, Sumo, Frantic, and Concierge. And I'll get into all of them in a minute, but I'll get into all of them now, honestly. So the leader of this, it's a Justice League type deal, but it's not as serious as Justice League. That does have its serious moments. But the leader of this whole group his name is Proc, and he's called Proc, P-R-O-C-K. He's called Proc because he's a professor and a doctor. He's got a law degree and a medical degree. And they each have superpowers, and Proc's superpower is he stops time for about 10 seconds. And if he exceeds 10 seconds, he'll pretty much die. I mean, his nose bleeds, his ears and eyes will bleed. If you watch the show, it happened to somebody else who ended up with his powers. And then the next one, which this is my favorite character of the whole show, the next one is Muscle Man, and he's just all he has is super strength, but he's a pretty funny character, and he's voiced. Forgive me if I murder this name, but he's voiced by a guy named Ike Barinholtz. That's what IMDb had. After I read that, I was very confused. I was lost, disoriented. You might even say I was bewildered. But yeah, Ike Barinholtz voices him, and he was the first person on IMDb on the cast list. On the cast list. The guy who voices Proc, his name is Seth Meyers, and I'll get into that later. But I think there's another guy, another comedian named Josh Myers voices another character, and I do believe they're brothers. I'm just assuming they are, but I'll get into his character in a minute. The next character on my list is Impresario, and he's kind of like Green Lantern. And I found this interesting. I did not know this. Kenan Thompson voices him. So if you watched all that, he was on there, and I've seen him in a couple things. But I like the show even more now, knowing that he voices that character. And the next Sumo, his name is Sumo. The next character I have is Sumo. And he's voiced by a comedian named Bobby Lee. Now, I've never heard of any of these comedians besides Kenan Thompson. I know of him. I know of Seth Meyers. And that's about it. But back to Impresario, he has this jewel right here. He's dressed like an Indian, like from India, not a Native American from America. He has this head wrap, this head diaper, and he has this pink jewel right here. And he found it by a lake, and he thought it was this magical thing. But it ended up, his mom planted one of her earrings there, and that's what it is. And all of his hard light projections have his mom in it, some shape or form, which is interesting. All right, now on to Sumo. Sumo is this little Chinese kid that he's like, he might be in the 7th grade. He's a very young kid, and when he gets angry, it's just kind of Hulk-esque. When he gets angry, he turns into this big old fat sumo. And he doesn't lose control like Hulk does a lot of the time, but it's still kind of the same concept. And the next one I have, the next one's name is Frantic, and these aren't in any certain order. They're just in the order that I thought of. This next one's name is Frantic, and he's pretty much like the Flash. He has super speed, and he's gay, which I thought was a very interesting character choice. But he's voiced by a guy named Taran Killam. I assume it's Killam, Killam. That's what IMDb had. And the next one is Concierge. Now she started out as more of the person who talks like through the earpiece to the team on site, but she was also on site. She's also like on site and like in the fight for a lot of the episodes. There might be one or two where she's not there, but in season 1 she's not a superhero at all. She has no powers. Her power might be, well, if you know what a concierge is, I think they kind of organize things. And it says that she said in one episode that when she was around like a teenager, she worked at some store, and then she was still running that store all these years later. She looks like high 20s, low 30s maybe. But in season 2, she's actually classified as a hero. She gets her own uniform, her own outfit, but she has no powers other than being a concierge. Let's see, the next one I have here. Let's flip over. The next one I have is Gadget Gal, which besides Muscle Man, I think Gadget Gal is one of my favorites. She was, if you know anything about the Awesomes, which I'm assuming you don't, you know that it's kind of like Justice League. There was Justice League and there was Justice League Unlimited, but the first team of Awesomes was around in the 40s. It had been going for a while, and I'll get into that later. But Gadget Gal she was an original member of this team. And so season 1 introduces her as this old lady, and she's fighting one of her old villains, and they're about the same age, and they get hit with this like fountain of youth type ray, this rejuvenating energy beam, I call it, and then she's knocked back to a young age in her prime, I guess. It doesn't really ever say how old she really is, but she still has that old woman voice, and you'll know what I mean if you watch it. It's pretty funny. The next one, Gadget Gal, is voiced by a lady named Paula Pell. Pell, her last name is spelled. The next character I have on my list is Hotwire, and she kind of uses electricity, and her character is interesting. It gets more interesting in the second season, and I'll get to that in a second. And she's voiced by a lady named Rashida Jones, which I actually already knew her name. I remembered who it was when I saw her on IMDb. I've seen her on Conan O'Brien, I think. But she starts off in season 1. I can't remember when she's introduced, but she has these electricity powers. And she's dating another superhero by the name of Perfect Man in season 2. And he's kind of like the Superman of this whole show. And he's voiced by Josh Myers. But I'll get into Perfect Man in a minute. But him and Hotwire date. And then in season 2, Hotwire gets this Iron Man type suit that she's called Metal Fella, which I thought was funny. She gets this Iron Man type suit because everybody thinks she's dead. I won't say why, but I just spoiled who Metal Fella is if you haven't watched yet, and I'm sorry. Spoiler alert, by the way. But her electricity power powers this suit, and This series is kind of known for its ridiculous heroes, in which I have a couple written down that I'll mention. But on to Perfect Man. In season 2, he's kind of distant from the Awesomes. Proc's father, which was Mr. Awesome, the founding member of this whole thing, he's voiced by Steve Higgins. And in a ceremony to induct he's leaving the planet because he's like 90 years old. And he wants to see something other than Earth. So he's been fighting on Earth for good for a lot of his life. So he's leaving Earth. And he's 90, but his powers kind of slow the aging process like all superheroes do that I know of. And he's leaving Earth, and he's finna induct the next Mr. Awesome. And Proc is at this ceremony. It's like there's press there. There's this big long table with all these heroes. And Proc thinks he's going to be the next Mr. Awesome. But instead of saying Proc, which is Mr. Awesome's son, Mr. Awesome makes Perfect Man the next Mr. Awesome before Mr. Awesome leaves Earth, if that made sense. If that made sense. So, Proc is very, very upset about that. But Mr. Perfect Man, I'm sorry, I'm getting confused. He actually refuses the offer, doesn't become leader of the Awesomes, and Proc forms the team. And it's very interesting because the government funded the Awesomes originally, which I thought was different, and that's my microwave going off. They fund the Awesomes, and Perfect Man, he decides not to be in the Awesomes. So Proc has to form this team out of superheroes who have been rejected from the Awesome team in the future. So this whole team is made up of these rejected heroes. And it's a very funny show. I think you should watch it. I'm just thinking about it right now. I developed such a passion for that show that I watch it all the time. And then the villain of the first season, his name is Dr. Malocchio, and he's voiced by Bill Hader, which I knew him, and I didn't know that was his voice until today. While I looked it up, and he has this power where he'll look at you in the eye like this, and he can control your mind control. And Mr. Awesome and Proc are immune to this, which is very cool, I think. And he has a son named Malocchio Jr., which is voiced by Will Forte, Forte, is his name, and he has this he gets injected with this evil serum. It's called evil serum. It gives you powers if you're evil, I guess. And he has this scream power, which is, if you know who Black Canary is, he has the same power. He can scream at a very high pitch, break walls and stuff. And he flies too, but with a purse. And when he's introduced, they start calling him Purse Man, which is funny. And then he forms a team called the Pricks, and they're the awesome counterparts. And there's a monkey who gets powers that he stretches. Now, if you follow DC, you know that there's a monkey called Gorilla Grodd with mind control, and I was so hoping his power was going to be mind control, because that would have just been cool, but it might have been too close to DC. And they have other heroes, there's this one kid, I don't really understand his powers. He lifts up these rocks with this green energy. It's kind of like Green Lantern. He might be Impresario's counterpart. And then there's another one with mind control. There's a Santa with spider legs. He's evil Santa with spider legs, a robot body. It's a robot spider body. And let's see, there's the monkey, there's the kid, there's this other lady with mind control, there's the spider Santa, and there's an evil projection of Impresario, an evil hard light projection that came from Impresario's mind. He created a bunch of them and lost control, and they had to pretty much kill them all. And there's this one that survived, and he's on the Pricks. He's on this evil team. So I named, and there's another one named Pamela. That's all I know, Pamela. I don't remember her last name. That dated Proc, and she saw all these pictures of Proc kissing other ladies. And I will be right back. I'm back. And Pamela sees all these pictures of Proc kissing these ladies, and he's not cheating on her, but there was just instances where it just happened to happen, right? It was Proc gave CPR mouth to mouth to a lady on the beach, and it's ended up kissing her. She ended up kissing him just because she kind of tricked him. And it was Muscle Man's sister, which just adds another weird factor to this awesome show. This awesome show. And then so she sees the pictures, and she doesn't need a serum, the evil liquid that they inject themselves with. She just kind of goes crazy and has super strength and runs really fast. Her hair gets all crazy, her eyes get bloodshot red. I thought it was funny that she didn't even need any serum because she was just that mad at Proc. And then to me, this show is kind of known for its ridiculous superheroes. All the superheroes I named, they make a little sense. Like Impresario with his hard light projections, Muscle Man with his super strength. Gadget Gal, she uses gadgets. obviously, out of a purse. Hot wire, electricity, proc. He's pretty much super smart and stops time. Frantic, super speed. Sumo with his angry, growing up when he gets angry and get really strong. Concierge with her organizational skills, I guess, is her power. They all fit within a spectrum of acceptable powers. Mr. Awesome with he's pretty much Superman as well. Dr. Malokio, mind control, the screen power, the stretch, mind control, stretch, powers that make sense. But there's other heroes, which I can't remember their names because there's just so many of them. But I think this is another one of my favorite superheroes. His name is Black Irish. And he's the most Batman type superhero that's on the show, I think, that I've seen so far. Because it's only season 2. So this show is still going. But they're looking, Proc and the Awesomes are looking for this hero named Black Irish in one episode. And somebody asks him, how do you find Black Irish? And he's like, you don't find him. He deduces that you're looking for him, and he finds you. Think about it. He deduces that you need him, and that you're looking for him, and he finds you. So it doesn't go into detail in that episode, but I just pictured him in his cave like Batman with a big old supercomputer, typing in and looking up, and then he's like, somebody needs me, and he shoots off, right? And in this episode, he drops down with a grappling hook, which didn't help the Batman image if they were trying to avoid that. But his costume is black, and he has this green clover on his face and one on his chest. And now, I guess his father, he's not in many episodes. If he is in an episode, he's in the background fighting, or he's in that one that I just mentioned where he drops down with the grappling hook. But his father was on the original Awesome team, and his costume was the opposite. It was green with a black clover. So those two are the closest thing to Batman that there is. And I saw another one. Let me find this effect for you. I was watching an episode last night where, let's see, something like from another dimension, something was attacking Earth, and all the superheroes on Earth were fighting whatever was attacking Earth. I'm not sure what it was really. But there was this one superhero, his power, if you're a nerd and a geek, his power was energy projection, which he blasted energy besides punching, super strength, speed. He blasted energy from his hands. And in one scene, he's flying up in the air, and he does this movement, he throws something. And it's not a blast of energy, it's not rocks, it's not from his brain, it's this right here. He throws this kind of stuff. Bam. The old Batman effects. He throws bam, wow, smack, but it explodes and knocks people back. So he'll throw his hand and this happens. He does that. And he throws the bam, wow, pam, smack, all that crap. He throws that stuff. And that's just one. I like him just because he's just funny. I like him. Because I didn't expect that. Because he flies up in the air, and you think it's gonna be some big explosion of some sort, and it's that. So I'm not making fun of him because I thought it was interesting. They are very creative to come up with these ridiculous things. And then another one I like, another odd superhero. Now this is a villain. I'm sorry, this other odd villain. His name is Whiskey Dick. Whiskey Dick. His name is Richard, and he likes whiskey. So that's where he got Whiskey Dick from, that name. And his power is he makes you drunk if you're around him too long. And he's like the main villain in one episode. And that's how that's how Awesomes know he's coming at one point, is they're like, ugh, Whiskey Dick's here. And they just get really drunk when he's around. And there's more, and I might make more videos. This video ran a lot longer than I thought it was going to. But I might talk in other videos about this show. But for now, if you have Hulu, give Awesomes a watch. If you don't, get Hulu. You have a first month free trial, so you should try it out. Just for Awesomes. I think it's that awesome of a show to worth the free trial. So, like I said, I might talk about this in other videos. But for now, that's it. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button. That's basically my way of knowing what you want to see more of, what you don't want to see more of, what you like, don't like, or dislike. And I will see you in the next video.